Where the Holy Spirit, in fact, where it says the Spirit helpeth our infirmities, it means bears us up in our weakness, in our limitation. He bears us up. Where we are unable to proceed, you get into this kind of prayer and the Holy Spirit supports you. You see, he has to do it through you. He will not do it on his own. So don't sit down and say, well, the Holy Spirit is praying for me. No, he wants to pray for you through you. He says, with groanings that cannot be uttered. Sometimes there are many Christians who find themselves in those groanings, but because they don't understand and they have never been taught, they wonder whether something is wrong. They say, Pastor, when I pray, I find myself crying and I don't know why. I say, continue. Don't stop. Don't stop until your crying turns to laughter. Don't stop. That prayer, when the Spirit seizes on you to pray like that, when you yield yourself to him, you go, They say, what is wrong? Nothing is wrong. It's prayer. Something is going on. Something is going on. All that's coming out of you just deep sighs. And sometimes you will feel exactly like what that person that you are praying for is going through. You find yourself going through that pain as if you were the one suffering. If you don't pray like this, things will be happening, bad things will be happening to members of your church, and you will have no solution. You find children dying, young people dying, older ones dying, different kinds of things happening. Terrible things happening to members of the church. Why? Because that pastor doesn't know how to pray in the Spirit. And he hasn't taught the members how to pray in the Spirit. But if they learn how to pray in the Spirit, you find members telling you, Pastor, last night I was sleeping, I just woke up and I found myself praying, groaning. I don't know why I was praying, but I kept praying. Then the next thing you hear, a mighty testimony. Someone was going through some terrible thing, and the Holy Spirit woke up a member and caused him to pray in the Spirit. There's a networking. There's a connection. That's why in some churches there are always wonderful testimonies. Why in some churches you say, does anybody have a testimony? Everybody be looking around. Everyone's looking around like, certainly he's not talking about me. So you'd wait 5 minutes, no one's hand is up to give a testimony. But in some churches, people are rushing to give testimony. Something has happened. They all have testimonies. Churches where they pray in the Spirit, they have testimonies. Churches where they don't pray like this in the Spirit, hardly do you find any testimony. Everybody's quiet. Pastor says, does anyone want to testify of the good things the Lord has done? Maybe someone will finally get up and say, well, I want to thank the Lord, he blessed me. Say, what did he bless you with? Say, well, I woke up this morning, thank God. That's not a miracle. That you woke up this morning is a miracle. That's normal. Okay, so groaning in the Spirit, does it just happen? Do we just say, okay, like somebody said, oh, we told the congregation to get up and let's all start groaning in the Spirit. Well, that's not going to work like that, because it says the Spirit helpeth. The Spirit. So it is initiated by the Spirit. But do we have any role to play? Emphatically, yes. And I'll show that to you. So that you don't sit down there and say, well, I thought that if the Holy Spirit is ready, he will make me groan in the Spirit. No. there are things you must do. Let me show you 2 scriptures. I'll start from the Old Testament. Isaiah chapter 64. Let's look at verse 7. And there is none that calleth upon thy name, that stirreth up himself to take hold of thee. Did you see that? It was at a time in Israel, and people weren't doing what was right. And the great prophet here says, and there is none that calleth upon thy name, that stirreth up himself to take hold of thee. Which means there was an expectation that people should stir up themselves to take hold of God. Stir up themselves to take hold of God. Which means you have a responsibility to stir yourself in the things of God. Hear this. After you have come to Christ, you have a responsibility to walk in the Spirit. He tells you, walk in the Spirit.